Welcome back to the Nullified Take, where we have the TNT takes for you on Survivor 47, episode 12. I'm here with Coach Drew. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Best episode of the season. And I'm just going to put this out there now. If you still hate Andy, touch barbed wire because that was the Andy episode. That's the Andy episode.
He's been my guy, and he just proved why he's my guy. I mean, I knew, this feels like this episode was catered specifically towards me. I mean, Andy does an awesome move. And I am a sucker. I think I've mentioned this on here before. I'm a sucker for these split plurality votes, like pulling off a 3-2-2 vote. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah. And once again, I won't say it was telegraphed. I guess it really was. They tell us halfway through the episode what's going to happen. And you're still shocked when it happens because there are so many things going through your head of what potentially right before Tribal, Sue's even talking about, I might use the idol. And you're sitting there like something's, and Caroline going still had me saying OMFG about 5. Like, this is the most vocal I have been during a Survivor episode since the 42 finale. Because I wanted Marianne to win that badly. This episode had me just talking to myself for an hour and a half. And I think that's a testament to how great the episode was from beginning to end.
Yeah, when I remember I watched it by myself and I was talking to myself too when they were at the sanctuary and Andy was talking about what they were going to do. I literally said, "Fuck yeah." Because I love these plurality votes. I love them. They're so clever. And
they are. And keep going here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you're basically just like conjuring a majority out of thin air. You know, like you don't have the numbers. You literally don't. But that it just goes to show, like, you know, it's kind of corny, but like literally, like, never give up. Like, even if you don't have the numbers, you can still make something happen. You just have to be really clever. And if you deliberate hard enough and put in the work into this plan like Andy did, you could tell he thought about everything to do with this plan.
And everyone played their roles to perfection. If anything, Andy may have, during the episode, I thought that Andy was starting to lay it on a little too strong that Genevieve had an idol. And I thought that might come into play, and it didn't. But I'm like, if this plan gets botched, it's going to be on him. And it doesn't. And I had a moment when Sam was picking, people to go to the sanctuary. He picks Andy first. What? Out loud. Because I thought, okay, it's going to be Genevieve and then someone else.
Yeah.
And when he picks Andy first, it's like, oh, okay, all right. And from there, the 3/4 of the episode are just these three running around doing what they have to do to keep Genevieve and Sam safe that night. But starting at the beginning of the episode, I thought it was going to be a Teenie episode, and it kind of was. I would say Teenie's the secondary character.
It's like a side plot.
Yes, the side plot of All Girls Alliance. Once again, just Charlie Brown. It never fails.
Yeah, Q Gabe in the chat. I'm sure will say something about Teenie, Charlie Brown. I mean, it's just like every episode. It's What was I going to say? I am curious, what was Andy's plan had he not been picked for the sanctuary? Like, this is like really lucky that Sam just happened to choose him because it literally set up the exact scenario that Andy was hoping for to set this all up. It gave them, did they even spent the night? They were there for so long to be able to go through, okay, then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and you're going to say this, and you're going to go make a fake idol and do this and do this. And it just makes you think, like, I don't know if they could have pulled this off had they not all been together at the sanctuary.
Well, so this is something I don't think has been shown on the show, and or Sam says, I promised Andy that I would take him. I'm like, oh, okay, that I don't think I remember seeing that. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming that at some point within, I don't know, it could be from the very beginning, but let's just say it happened within the last 3 days in real time of, hey, if I win, I'll take you. Andy's probably banking on, hey, if I win or if Sam wins, I'm going. If Genevieve wins, I'm assuming that Sam will have told her, bring Andy. And then
Mhm.
I'm also in a 5-person alliance. Five? Five. Yeah,
Mhm.
5-person alliance. It's very possible that one of them also brings me. And if not, I'm back at camp with these two. So that's the way that I saw it. It was like, okay, yeah, this was probably his plan all along when he woke up that morning, like, as he said, of get me in a spot with these two and let me work my magic, which he did.
Yeah, I think that he took what Genevieve said personally last episode of that he's being dragged to the end. He said, I'm going to show you that I'm not. And he brings her in on the plan, and she now knows, and we even see that she goes and apologizes to him for that. And I thought that was a pretty nice moment, um, because it can feel personal when you attack somebody's game because everybody's trying to win, and it's just a hard game with the circumstances, and especially for people like Andy, they're super fans. It's their dream to go out there and play a great game, and so to hear like that you're not and you're being dragged to the end, I'm sure that's really hard to hear. So that was a nice moment, I thought.
Yeah, and Genevieve has a lot of Genevieve. I don't know why I compared it to this, but I was getting SpenceBot moments from her, specifically SpenceBot in Cambodia, where he's talking about, "Oh, I'm trying to have feelings," and it comes off as fake, but it didn't come off as fake when Genevieve was saying in this episode because she kept saying it, and you could tell that there was something there to it. You could tell that she really did feel guilty about the fact that she hadn't made bonds with people since Keyshawn left. And the fact that she keeps going back to the Keyshawn moment as the moment in the game that like snapped her into the strategic side of things and not the social side of things. I think that's a testament to the relationship that they did have. The fact that she's saying, I have no friends here, and you actually believe it, and that
Yeah.
she brings it up at Tribal, and you actually believe it. I know I compared it to Spencer, but Spencer's was fake, probably. Hers is very real.
Yeah, I love it. I think that, and I loved the dichotomy of her experience versus Teeny's, where Teeny's like, I need to be less emotional. Like, I have been playing emotional this whole time, and where has it gotten me? I have just been, tossed aside and whatever, and I'm done with that. And Genevieve's realizing the opposite. Like, I need to embrace the community around me more. I just thought it was just beautifully told.
Absolutely. Does Andy know that Rachel has a block of vote? Yes, because Rachel told everyone in the group of five, and then now all of them know because Andy also told Genevieve and Sam at the sanctuary
Mhm.
that. But no one knows, especially now that Caroline's gone. There are two idols in the game that no one knows about except for the people that are holding them,
Yeah,
and those people are going to be not in the minority, but they're going to be on the side of we just got screwed last night side, going into the first part of the finale, which is also very exciting. I'm so pumped for this 2-part finale.
yeah. I'm so. It's gotta be. Do you think that it's really? Is it just gonna be the final six vote next week, or
I mean, they could do it because they've been doing it all season, where it's just a whole episode and then one boot. So it's not like that would be the craziest thing. I'm trying to figure out, does something happen that would make them want to split it up into 2 episodes,
yeah,
or is it just, hey, we know how great this season is, we're going to give you more content and split it into 2 episodes?
yeah? Because to me, I'm thinking, what's the difference between calling it a finale versus just saying this is the penultimate episode? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Gabe is saying the next episode is the final 6 and the final 5 vote. Oh wow! So there's it's just going to be the final, the finale. The final finale episode is just going to be the final 4. Interesting. Is it going to be
Oh
a
no.
shorter episode? I wonder.
Is it gonna, or is it gonna be Shades of Australian Outback where it's just like, oh, this just keeps going?
They're going to go sit at the top of a
Yeah.
waterfall and
I hope not. I hope they make
carve
it
something.
interesting. I hope they make it interesting.
Yeah,
I think they will. They have a good track record this season, so
right. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm just curious how it's all going to work. What was? Yeah. I wonder. Like, is it scheduling? Is it like you said? Like they felt like this was the best way to, based on what events can happen on the season. Like, is this the best way to like convey it? In the most interesting way. I don't know, but we're just gonna have to see.
yeah.
No point in deliberating too long.
Yeah. So if we want to go back to the beginning, we are talking pretty much about the beginning of the episode. Teenie and Genevieve have a moment that by the end of it, it seems like it's heated, but it didn't seem like the conversation was heated leading into Teenie kind of being pissed off and walking off.
Yeah, it was very unexpected. It just seemed like a pretty generic check-in, just there's conversations happening all the time. This just seemed like one of them that just happened to be on the show. And I think Genevieve says something pretty mundane, like, I feel like Rachel can be any, I think she essentially said, yeah, Rachel, I think, will be anybody at the end. And Teenie takes that as an attack on them. And I say to that, okay, not really sure. Like, I just think, like, I think we need to chill a little bit,
And I mean, because I think it might be because it's coming from Genevieve. Like,
yes.
if Andy says it, maybe it doesn't come off as that, but because Genevieve has now been painted as this villain, and to a certain respect, she is. I still say that Andy is the villain of the season, but like, once again, not hateable. Teenie hearing that from Genevieve might set something off, and now I'm not talking to you. But we get to the reward challenge, and I know we're kind of going all over the place with this, but Sam wins, and Rachel is right there once again. Sam wins. The sanctuary happens. We've already touched on that. I really like. I've said this many times. I love the family visit episodes. They're my favorite thing. Do you think they're going to bring it back for 50? Because I think that they're going to bring it back for 50. Because Jessica says everyone looks forward to the letters on this show. I'm like, that's not true. They've only looked forward to the letters for the last 7 seasons, but it's the family visit.
Didn't they used to do it where there were letters and a family visit?
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess what he's saying is true. People like the letters, but they like the family visit more. That's the way more important thing. So they have to bring it back. They have to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're going to wait till 50. I don't think that they're going to do it for 48 or 49, which sucks. But like, considering one of my favorite episodes of all time is the season 40 family visit, I don't mind waiting basically 10 seasons to get another one. But what did you think about the scene, though, just in general? Because once again, we get a lot more of Genevieve, having this reflection on how she's been playing the game. And I haven't seen her be antagonistic towards people.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong in reading it? Like, because they keep showing it, I'm just guessing that I'm missing something. Like, has she come off as...
No, I don't think antagonistic's the right word. I would say just distant is the way I've been reading it. Definitely you feel especially after the Saul vote. I mean, it just feels like she's just like doing her own thing. She's like not even part of the community, as she says. It's like It's literally everyone else and her, like not even in the strategic sense, just in general, you know? And there's just less and less scenes of her at camp talking to anybody. Like it's just like doesn't happen. And I feel like she was pretty involved back on the Red Tribe, at least after the first 2 episodes. You know, she was invisible.
Never forget where we were just like, who is this?
And now she's like probably
the main character.
Like the main character of the season. She's like having this huge plot line. Yeah. Very funny. Yeah, I wouldn't say antagonistic. I would say distant. And she's just, I think she's just scared, like to even go there at all, you know, to having any sort of personal conversations.
Are you upset that they didn't call it The Italian Job? Because I was very annoyed.
I didn't even think of that, but that's another movie.
It's sitting right there.
That's another movie I feel like I need to rewatch. Is the Italian Job? Yeah.
But we get this plan into place, and they have the music playing in the background. The music, so they have a few different music cues throughout this entire thing. At first they have it like a spy type thing, and then when they start breaking up mob, so they don't get sued by whoever made, I think 20th Century Fox, whoever did The Godfather. They play like a version of the Godfather theme in the background. And I thought that was so funny and cool. And the entire time you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, Rachel's screwed because I do believe these three are going to vote together because Andy has shown that he's willing to flip whenever. Mm-hmm. And we get to the immunity challenge, and I'm standing out of my chair, screaming at my TV, like trying to will Rachel to win however many months later after she actually trying to will her to a win, and they have to edit it in a way that it makes it look like it's longer because no one's landing balls except for Rachel. And Rachel wins, and worst case scenario has now happened to the three.
Rachel is the new Kyle confirmed. She would have broken the record already had Kyle not been there.
I mean, she could still tie the women's record is 4.
Yep.
So I mean, she could.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, just joking, but like it is funny that like now she's won 2 or 3 in a row.
She's won in a row. Was that
or just 2 total? Didn't she win last episode too?
Potentially, I don't remember. But she's won 2 now. She's won 2 now, and we get. In my head, I'm like, please don't go for Caroline next. Go for Teenie. I know they're not going to go for Sue, so go for Teenie. And they're like, oh, we got to go for Caroline. I'm like, damn, all right, well.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be Caroline once it wasn't Rachel. It was either going to be Caroline or it was going to be Sam or Genevieve. I just knew, like, if Operation Italy is still going through, which I'm sorry. Yeah, like you said, should have been the Italian Job, if not the Italian Job, something other than Operation Italy. That's just so basic. Come on.
I enjoy the fact that they've been naming their alliances this season.
Yes.
I am a fan of that. Operation Italy. I love that it was the episode title. Like, great. Italian Job would have been better.
Definitely. But hindsight, naming it Operation Italy is better than not naming it at all. I think it's fun. But I knew that if Operation Italy was going to go through still after Rachel won immunity, it had to be Rachel. Or sorry, it had to be Caroline.
Yeah. Because you got a weekend too. And it was the Caroline's a threat. We've been saying since the beginning, Caroline's a threat. And now that she's gone, I don't see Sue leaving at all. I think Sue's got a final 3 spot wrapped up. I don't see why anyone would get rid of her, except for maybe I'm tired of looking at your dirty face. Can you please watch it? And somehow it just keeps getting worse.
She's rolling around in the dirt, trying to look for idols when she already has one. Which Actually, that's probably smart because it throws them off the scent
Yes.
that he has one.
Does this move help Genevieve and Sam against Rachel? They can argue they did need advantages to make this move work. Does this move help Genevieve and Sam against Rachel? No, because if Rachel still sits at the end next to them, then it's gonna be like, well, why didn't you get rid of her when you could then? Well, they couldn't get rid of her now, but like, let's just say something happens and somehow the three of them are sitting at the end. I feel like a lot of the jury would try to pose the question of if Rachel was such a basically what the Winners at War jury did of like, why didn't you get rid of Tony? Why didn't you get rid of Rachel? So I think it helps them right now. I don't think it helps them if the two of them sit at the end with her.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. But I want to pose this question to you, and I know you love Rachel, and honestly, I like her a lot too. But what do you think is driving everybody to say that Rachel is this huge threat? Because really, when we look at it, and I'm not like, no offense to Rachel, but she's been on the wrong side of the votes like quite a few times since the merge. I mean, let alone, she was on the wrong side of the Annika vote right before the merge. She really just was given an advantage from Saul that saved herself, and I think she was on the right side of the votes last episode against Kyle, and I'm sure there's another one where she was in on it, but she's not. I think if I were on the island, I wouldn't be seeing what they're seeing personally. I think she's a smart player. She knows. I mean, I think we're going to get into it, or I can get into it now, where she literally was like, well, why don't we just throw one stray vote on Sam or Genevieve and just pile on? And it's like it's like foreshadowing. Like she knew, she potentially saw what was happening. I think she's got a good mind for the game, but is there something I'm missing?
Yes. Yeah, it is. I think they're hiding everything. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. It's more of the, let's let everyone else tell us that she's a threat, so that perception just kind of clicks in our heads too, that, oh, okay, well, all of these people are saying she's a threat. Clearly she must be a threat. And it helps that whenever she is shown doing things, it's shown as triumphant. It's shown as, we're not laughing at Rachel whenever things happen on the show, because it's the way it's being portrayed. And this is another reason why I think she's probably going to win. Because of her presentation compared to other folks. You don't hear a lot of people talking about, when people are talking about Andy, they're not saying the most positive things. When they're talking about Sue, they're not, Sam, he's a threat, but also we got the whole teeny mocking Sam thing this episode. Mm-hmm. When we hear Genevieve's talking shit about herself. So Rachel's really the only person that's like consistently positive. Even when people are trying to get rid of her, it's because, hey, she's a threat. Everyone likes her. This, that, and the other. It's never. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think also, I mean, one thing in her favor, I mean, she was, unlike Sam, I mean, they were basically in the same boat, right? And yet, look at where Rachel is and look at where Sam is. She was able to, even though obviously Andy flipped on the underdog alliance, but Rachel was very, very quickly able to ingratiate herself with the majority, with the numbers, and
make herself an underdog.
When everybody was targeting her and saying that she's a threat, she was still able to get back in. So yeah, I'm just putting that out there because I think a lot of people might bring that up, and I personally think it's fair because we don't usually see a player be on the wrong side of the vote this much while still being lauded as, the biggest threat to win. So, I'm not saying she's playing a bad game at all. I think she's playing pretty damn well,
You're just playing devil's advocate.
Right. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So
the next tribal is the last time they can play the idols, though, right? I think. I want to take the question now, but that's the case, right?
no, I think there's 2 more, right? Because next one's 6.
Does it expire
There's
at 5?
only
Oh, okay. Maybe it expires at 5.
there's 6 people left, so the next tribal's final 6, and then there's 1 more. The next tribal, though, is the last time that Rachel can play her block vote.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have this plan, and Andy, and this we'll get to the end of it all right now, because for months now we've been singing this man's praises, and we're gonna sound like hipsters here, but like, who cares? We thought Andy was good before everyone else thought that Andy was good. And I think that week by week, he's consistently shown it. And now this week, if there are people that are still thinking that Andy is just some jabroni that's going to lose at the end, like I said before, touch barbed wire, because it's clear as day now. And it's clear as day now, not only to everybody else, but the jury now see. Oh, I mean, the fact that Gabe says, "Oh, Andy flipped again," shows that they've already been talking about it, and now we know that the jury knows because it's being vocalized. And the fact that Andy sits there and says, I'll explain everything," I thought was for show. That is saying, hey, that was me. And I think that's great. I still hope that he gets out before the final 3, because I think the only person that can give Rachel potentially run for money is him. But Andy's been great.
But yeah, you're right.
Andy's been great.
Yeah, and I still see in the comments people are still saying not giving Andy his due. I don't know what you're on. But but yeah, I mean, basically I told you so. We told you so. Sorry. Like, I mean,
well, so does anyone think that Andy can survive the flip? The flip. Red flag comments from the jury. He's flipping again. It's ironic because you know who else did this to almost perfection was Rob and Amazon, where he just flipped back and forth until he couldn't flip anymore. Yeah, and he would have won. Andy's doing the exact same thing. Like there is no, from what we're seeing, there is no big difference between their games if you don't include the first episode, which I think people are still taking into account. Don't take into account the first episode because Rob's halfway invisible in the first episode of the Amazon. Halfway. Merge Andy and merge Rob. Just did this. And this is what Andy is doing now. But I don't see people praising him like they praised Rob back in 2003. And it's weird because it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, counter to that, I'm sure Andy can pretty easily convince him, like, yeah, I flipped because that was what was right for my game. I flipped to whatever alliance or whatever group was going to get me to the end. And I think that's pretty convincing.
To be fair, Andy is from the orc community. And I mean, I have my qualms with the orc community. I mean, I'm in the orc community, but I have my qualms with the orc community. Teeny's from the LRG community. So like at this point in Survivor history, especially ever since 40, we've been getting a lot more people from the online community out in the real game. So like I'm happy that they are doing well. It's just frustrating because Andy, like, I don't know what else this man can do to get people to like him. I don't know. Like, yeah. He's not playing for the views, but what else does he have to do?
I don't know. I really don't at this point. Danica's asking, what is the org community? Org stands for online reality game, mainly Survivor is what people talk about. But there's other ones, Big Brother. I think there's like Amazing Race or something.
Oh yeah, there's Traders, there's Bachelor. There's all types of orgs. But yeah, it's just online Survivor, online Big Brother. It's a lot of fun. And also really obsessive. Like you get really obsessed really fast. Shape is the so anyway, plan goes into place. I feel like everyone played their roles well. I don't think, besides the one scene where Andy is like trying to split thing, I think that everyone, didn't go crazy with it with the selling. It's very Karen-esque from Palau, where they just played their roles. Even when Genevieve almost gets busted with the fake idol, Sam or Andy comes to the rescue so that Teeny only sees it just enough for it to be like, okay, that's real. Everyone, it was such a great plan, and what makes it even better is us as an audience still thought something's going to happen. It's not going to it can't just happen like this, and it does.
Yeah, because usually when a plan is introduced so early on in the episode, something always happens, and to be fair, something did happen. They said it was going to be, they wanted it to be Rachel, and Rachel won immunity, so gotta adjust. But yeah, you're right. I was like, okay, still don't buy it. Like, it's just, I was thinking towards the end that Andy might just abandon, because really his target was Rachel, and was his heart really in it at that point if it's not going to be Rachel? But yeah, it happens every episode. The editors, they get us.
They got us again. This is, we can talk about the Teeny, because I know we alluded to it earlier. If Teeny flips on the all female force, she needs to go. Teeny this episode was really laid on thick, and I think for good reason, with the anger for not getting picked in the reward, the hey, let's do this women thing for the 12th episode in a row.
Yeah,
let's do this women's thing. I'm locked in, and I don't want to come off as a man hater or whatever. And it's like, I didn't get that vibe at all. It just kind of seems like you want to do this all women's thing, which is fine, because it almost never works. And as we saw in this episode, it didn't work. Not because of anybody in her crew, but the male, the male that they were going to get rid of fifth, took one of their people out before they could get him at 5.
Right. Yeah, I think, I don't know if she comes off as a man hater, but maybe more of just a Sam hater, or really just like a
great impression, by the way. I thought it was great.
Or just like, maybe not even necessarily a Sam hater, just like people like Sam. She just doesn't like that archetype of person, which also I thought was funny that later on Sam mentions that he's channeling his former theater, which I guess makes sense.
Based off his profession.
Yeah. Yes. But I just think it's funny because I don't know if Teeny would have guessed that he was a.
If I saw Sam out there and didn't know what he did, I would assume that at some point he was the pretty boy in high school. Like, that's not that crazy to, Yeah, as so. And then, yes, it is a fun little thing. It's like, oh no, I was a theater kid. It's like, well, theater kids can be attracted too. Like, that's not really.
Yes,
not really
but there's like the stereotype.
The stereotype, exactly. But yeah, Teeny. It seems like Teeny's finally got this down. We're going to do this. We're all locked in. And at that point, I almost thought maybe Sue should tell them about her idol, not Rachel, because Rachel doesn't need to tell anyone anything. Mm-hmm. Maybe Sue should tell everyone about her idol just in case. Do we feel like Sue? Well, one, do you think that Sue has a snowball's chance in hell of winning the game? But 2, do you feel like who do you feel like Sue's going to actively latch on to next?
Rachel.
Or do you think Rachel?
Because I feel like there's already some setup for it. I feel like Sue's relationship has been set up to have a potential relationship outside of Caroline with 2 people, Andy and Rachel. And I think we can assume why it's not going to go well with Andy after this. So we saw with Andy, I might be the only person that remembers this, but it was like a couple episodes ago. Like there was a scene with them together. They met in the jungle, and they had a really good conversation. And Sue basically said, like, yeah, I can totally see myself, us two getting to the end together. Same thing with Rachel when Rachel tells Sue about her idol, and she says, like, you just won me over. Like, I am in. Gabe did the same thing to me at the beginning of the game, and I latched onto him. So it's going to be Rachel. Like, I'm just calling it right now. Like, she is going to, I think, calling my shot here, do something to basically help Rachel win at the end. I think that Sue is going to become self-aware and realize that she's probably not going to win. And I think she might help Rachel win instead. I think that that feels like something that can happen.
Called your shot.
But also maybe contradicting that, you've asked me, does Sue have a snowball's chance of winning? I think yes, because I think, obviously anyone has a chance of winning, but obviously she has a pretty low chance just based off what we've seen. She has an idol. That juries like it when you play an idol well. So if she could do something with it and like maybe take out like Genevieve or Rachel probably in some way, but like I just said, I don't think that's going to happen. So there's a world. There's actually, I think, like plenty of worlds where Sue could win, but I think her reputation's pretty low right now among the jury, just in terms of like gameplay. I think she's just kind of seen as probably what people think that Andy's looked as. I think Sue is that, or even worse. Like she's just kind of maybe a kooky old lady.
I know it's an editing trick. It could be real, but I think it's an editing trick. The scene at Tribal where she like smiles at Kyle, and Kyle's just sitting there.
Kyle just goes
like, I want it to be real.
Yeah,
I want it to be real so badly.
I literally thought the same thing.
Talking about the jury, they look very pissed off this episode. So I'm assuming that Kyle went in there and told them things that would like make them more upset than just Sierra. Because Gabe didn't look that pissy last week, and besides his little comment at the end when Kyle got voted out, and Saul's just vibing. But
really
Sierra's been consistently just angry, and it looks like they are 4 strong as far as being upset. Now, that could just be a ruse. It could be like, let's make them sweat a little bit. But what we're being shown, and why would they show us if they didn't mean it? They're being shown as being visibly pissed off. And the Andy thing, once again, Gabe saying, oh, Andy flipped again. Do you think that's a positive or a negative thing in their eyes right now? Do you think the way that Gabe said it, what do you think? How do you think that he was saying it? Does that make sense?
It did kind of sound slightly negative, but honestly, I would assume that Gabe would respect flipping. Like I feel like that's the kind of player that Gabe wanted to be. Like a Tony type, or like you said, like Rob Sesternino. Just flipping from group to group. I would be shocked if Andy made it to the end and the reasoning that they don't vote for him is because he flipped too much. Like that would kind of shock me. I don't think it's crazy to assume that maybe the jury doesn't fully respect Andy's game. At least I sure hope that maybe they respect him a bit more. But prior to this, I understand. But if flipping is the reason, then I'm not really sure about that.
These people don't seem like Dan Foley with his whole obnoxious flippers never win. It doesn't feel. I think we've moved on far enough in Survivor history where like that mentality is probably gone. of we can't vote for the flipper. But anyway, so we get to tribal. We know that there are going to be 3 people that get votes. No matter what, we know that there are going to be 3 people that get votes. It really only matters how Andy votes. And once again, this is like the 3rd or 4th week in a row that we've gotten the Genevieve voting confessional. Now, I don't know if they're doing that because she gives great voting confessionals, because she does, or if it is ultimately leading to something. Because I think I really picked up on it this week. It's like, wow, they showed hers again, or they showed her talking again. What did you think of this tribal?
I thought it was kind of interesting. I felt like they were. One thing I noticed, and this isn't really like the main point of tribal, I just wanted to point it out. I felt like they kept panning to Caroline and like Sue, like supposedly like making faces at each other to kind of make it seem like, will Sue play the idol for Caroline? Because I think there was like some sort of passing comment back at camp, and the whole time I was just thinking like, that's not happening. Like, she's not playing the idol for Caroline. Like, that's not happening. I could just tell that was edit manipulation. You're not getting me on that, editors, But yeah, very, I liked it. I mentioned like way earlier in this podcast with Genevieve and Teeny, their sort of dichotomy of their experiences in the game and how it's sort of shaped their mindsets in this moment. I thought it was really compelling.
Yeah, I know like you said, I know we've touched on it already, but Genevieve's moment of her saying, "Oh yeah, community and all of this," it's like, yeah, I get it. I get where she's coming from, and I also get that she's still playing the game with her saying this. And once again, in an episode where Genevieve should go home, Genevieve does not go home. And it's going to, and in the trailer for next week, just jumping ahead a little bit, in the trailer for next week, I think for the first time in a long time, I think that almost everything we see in the trailer will actually come to fruition and will be legitimately real as far as like what they're showing us is actually going to happen. So like there's a scene where Genevieve and Rachel are standing next to each other. It's like this whole like this head-to-head thing. It's like, yes, this is what it's been the entire time. They keep taking shots and they keep missing, and other people keep taking shots at them and they keep missing. A perfect Final 3 would have the 2 of them in it, or the perfect Final 4 fire making would have the 2 of them in it. Either way, I mean, I need them to go head to head at something before this is all said and done. Like if they all end up voting out Genevieve or all voting out Rachel, I think it'll be a great moment no matter what. But for me, I need them one-on-one, to determine who's the best.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty epic way to start or end the finale, the 2-part finale. Like you said, like those are the front runners right now. Like really, they're the only 2 that I can kind of conceivably see winning. I just have a hard time. I know that you and I are high on Andy, but I still have a hard time, and I still think that he can change people's minds, but I have a hard time seeing them vote for him unless it's literally him, Sue, and
Sam. Not Teeny. I think Teeny has a better chance than. I think Teeny. Yeah. No. Teeny than Sam. Okay. I think it goes Rachel, Genevieve, Teeny. No. Rachel, Genevieve, Andy, Teeny, Sam, Sue.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. So, but I just still like it. Just doesn't feel right in my mind. Like that Andy will be the winner.
I think Andy's gonna get. I think Andy goes home next week.
Yeah, that's like extremely possible. I mean, I know that like I'm comparing it to something that didn't even end up happening the same way. But like Genevieve, she came out and said, "Here I am. I just made this big move." Obviously, she didn't end up going, but like she was supposed to, so they're at least going to target him, because I think that Genevieve has done a great job of kind of stepping back and like cowering and saying, I surrender, I surrender. Yeah. But she hasn't, she's still playing, she's making fake idols. She's part of this Operation Italy. I could still absolutely see Genevieve winning, but right now it is her and Rachel.
It's her and Rachel, and I'm fine with that. That it's so great to have Team Rachel or Team Genevieve, and thankfully I picked both of them, so like I'm good. I don't have to pick either one. But what I think is going to happen is, because now Andy is in the Omer spot. Omer got clocked after he had been toying with people for most of the game, and then got caught with his pants down right before the finale. Well, I guess this will be in the finale, but whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that now that Andy has like shown, hey, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I think that someone's going to pull a fast one on him, and all they need is, someone brought it up in the comments, and it's true. If they can get Teeny and Sue, because Sue's gonna be pissed off no matter what, and Teeny's is going to be out for blood, even though the trailer is showing her talking about Rachel's block of vote and all that. I think that, and Genevieve have no problem go after Andy, because once again it keeps her alive to Final 5 now. Sam and Andy, which we really didn't touch on, like besides him picking him. You brought this up last week. We really never got payoff on them going after each other.
Just never happened.
Buddies since then.
And by the way, I thought it was actually very nice to see Sam say like, "Hey, I did Andy wrong, and I feel like I owe him. I don't think you owe anybody anything in Survivor. You play to win." But I thought that was a nice sentiment, because they really did do him dirty, him and Sierra. They were planning on dragging him through, and so I thought that was nice. And I mean, it bought Sam another day in this game, and it is pretty funny that it just never happened. It's like, if you watched Australian Survivor,
I watched Heroes vs. Villains.
Okay, so there's this running joke that in season 1 of Australian Survivor, there was a preview before one of the episodes later in the merge, where it was like, it was actually somebody named Sue, I believe. It was like, will this be Sue's big move? Is Sue going to make a big move next week? And then just like literally nothing happened. And then they like did it again later and said, is this Sue's big move? And then she didn't even like talk about making a big move at all. Like it just literally never happened. Just conjured it out of thin air. And so like this reminds me of that, of just like they just made something out of nothing, like in those previews.
Well, I don't know, like that reminded me of Nicaragua, and Purple Kelly finally has something to say, and it's like it has nothing. Her confessional in that episode has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah,
but they put it in the trailer. In the trailer anyway.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at now. We're at the final 6. We've got 2 episodes left. We've got visibly a pissed off jury. I'll buy it when they actually ask the questions, because I still think that, yeah. We've got 2 people that we perceive as being the odds-on favorites to win, and we've got 4 other folks. For this, just for you, for this season, if it's not already, for this season to be top 10 for you, what would need to happen in your perfect world?
My perfect world, Andy makes 2 more crazy moves, takes out Genevieve, then Rachel, then does something crazy with fire, and then convinces the jury and changes their mind that he's not just some goof and that he's actually a great player, and then he wins. Because I just love Andy. That's my perfect world. Doesn't necessarily have to happen for it to be top 10. I still am kind of, because I think you and I agree that Rachel is the front runner right now. If we were to make a bet on who wins, we're putting it all on Rachel. But I'm hoping to see kind of her to make a big move, because she's played great. Am I eating some gummies? Oh, because you just don't like Andy, so it's not for you. Not for you. He doesn't. He's an Andy here. He said, let me go back to one real quick. Let me go back up to one of you two Bearcats comments. He says, the trouble is in Andy's mind. He has masterminded several big moves, and I am pretty sure no one in the jury has given him any credit for anything. And I think you're half right, because I think I agree with the last part of your comment. I don't think that the jury has really given him credit for much, but I don't know if I believe that Andy thinks he's some mastermind. He's masterminded like several moves. Like, what are these moves that Andy thinks he's masterminded? I think that he believes that he played his position well to flip on Sam and Sierra. Then I think he hopped to Genevieve, and then I think he has flipped. He's flipped from group to group. Those aren't necessarily masterminding big moves,
It's playing the middle. It's playing the middle to perfection. To perfection is winning, but everyone's just playing the middle ground is the most dangerous spot to play, and it is. And he's doing it very well right now. He survived an odd number. He survived the 7. We kept saying 7 is like the crazy, and it was. And Andy caught no votes and gained 2 allies out of it. And if he survives next week at 5, if he somehow is not on the table, someone to go, that would be crazy. Mm-hmm. Because he has now shown multiple times that he is willing to jump ship when the time calls for it. And 5 would be the time to call for it again. And if they allow him to do that, there's going to be a shitstorm, moving forward for that Final Four. So I know we keep harping on this, and it's crazy because I don't even want Andy to win. But I just feel like I have to support him. I have to support him.
I mean, I think I'm just higher. I'm just high on Andy. And I don't want to harp on that too much because whatever. Because it doesn't seem like many people agree with that. So this, it's not for you guys. But I think that kind of going back to what I was saying about Rachel, to make this a top 10 season, because honestly, I'm at the point where I'm already just kind of penciling her in as the winner.
Wow.
Like it's at that point. Like it really is. Like it just is. But I want to see a little bit more than maybe just what has already happened, how she has already played. I kind of want to just see a little bit more. I want to see, because I feel like the way that they're treating Rachel is that she's literally like this, power player. And she's not this power player like Genevieve is really, Andy just made a power play. Rachel hasn't done that, and that's fine. You don't have to, but it's the way that she's being treated by the other players and by really the edit. So I kind of want to see her live up to that.
Yes.
And I think she could. She's got a block of vote and an idol. Yes. So that's what I'm hoping for. I think if something, epic goes down with those two advantages, or yeah, with those two advantages, like I think, like I will be a happy man, and I will put this in my top 10.
Yeah.
What about you? What would make this? I know that you love Rachel. She's been your winner pick. Is that what you would like to see? Is some fireworks from Rachel and her to be crowned the winner?
So coming from me, Mister no big moves.
Mm.
I would love to see an idol block a vote play in the same round that succeeds. And honestly, all I really want is a Genevieve versus Rachel one-on-one, whether it's fire or sitting at the end next to a third person, probably Sue. That's all I want. I just want Rachel versus Genevieve. I think that'd be a great way to end the season because it has been they are the rivalry of the season. And I feel like this is the type of season that when it ends, there will be people that were Team Genevieve and Team Rachel. Sandra and Parvati weren't button heads in Heroes vs. Villains, but that's what I would compare it to. Of like, there are people that are Team Parvati and there are people that are Team Sandra. And I think this is what we could potentially get if we get the two of them sitting next to each other or even at Fire. For me right now, this is probably already top 15. It probably will be in the top 10 when it's all said and done. And I said this a couple weeks ago. I cannot wait to do my marathon again because I want to watch the season again. I watched that episode today, and then I went to work, and I thought about it the entire. I worked at I worked a hockey game today, and I was working in the penalty box. So for the most part, I think there was only two people that came in at any point during the game, and I was like, "Wow, that was a really good episode." I texted you like, "Hey, please, like, whatever you watch, please, like, this is great. It's so good that the discourse this season hasn't been about, oh, I hate the new era and all this. It's basically just been, I hate Andy, which is weird, but the discourse has gone away from hating on the new era because you can't hate this season. And so now you have to pick because people have to be upset over something. They've now chosen, I think that's what it is. They moved all their hatred of the new era to one person. And it just so happens that the one person is actually pretty good. But so question, I just need Rachel versus Genevieve. Final thoughts on the trailer for next week's episode, if you watched it.
Yes, I did, and I'm trying to remember exactly.
Rachel has a Tony moment in the trailer.
Yes, that was the one thing that stood out to me. Was it was in the dark and everybody's huddled on the beach, and Rachel's sneaking by and listening to them. And yeah, like you said, they pose this finale as kind of Genevieve versus Rachel. So really, I think you're going to be satisfied, is what I think. In some way, I think. Otherwise, because I feel like they're a little bit more honest in their finale trailers than they are perhaps with their, Andy versus Sam, epic blow up, which never happened. I think that, yeah. So I think you're going to be happy. Let's see. Gabe says, no matter what happens, do you think Andy is a lock for 50? Andy's the type of player Jeff said he wants back. I think there are a lot of people, from quite a few people in this season, that Jeff would like to see back. I think that, well, we kind of already talked about Gabe, and that feels so long ago.
I remember Gabe.
Yeah. But Andy, I think, absolutely. I think that Jeff would want Andy there. I think Genevieve too. I think Jeff really likes Genevieve. I really like one underrated thing about Genevieve. She gives really good tribal council answers.
Yes.
And her voting confessionals are good, and just her confessionals in general. But I love her answers at tribal. I think that Jeff is just eating it up. Like every tribal, they always include, because we know that tribals are way longer than what they are shown on TV. They ask everybody questions, but Genevieve always gives. They always leave in a Genevieve answer, and for good reason.
Yeah, because she's a great talker. She's a great talker. She's a great narrator. Andy is too. I feel like everyone, even Sue's craziness, is fun to watch. Yeah. Everyone has been delivering. And once again, we get an episode where we know how everyone is thinking about the situation. Mm-hmm. We're not left in the dark about, because like we both touched on, Sue even says, maybe I'll play my out for Caroline. So we now know that this is a thing that could potentially happen. I'm excited for the finale. I'm going to be going to a finale party for the second part. I'll be going to a finale party. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, nothing more from me. So I think we can sign off there. Everybody grab your torches, head back to camp. Have a good one.